Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about the state of the Republican Party. Now, ever since Donald Trump came on the scene and then won the presidency in 2016, the Republican Party started changing. After all, Donald Trump was the first social media president. And when the midterms rolled around in 2018, and he used all his social media platforms to endorse fringe candidates who then won, well then, the evolution of the Republican Party started speeding up. And many within the party, and people outside of it who still support it, are now concerned that the Republicans may go through a complete party split. And all of it goes back to Donald Trump and the social media of politics. So, what I want to do today is get you up to speed on everything that's been going on recently. And then I want to take a stab at what tomorrow might end up looking like in this new social media driven, rage click inducing Republican Party. Here we go. Over 100 Republicans, including former officials, threatened to split from the GOP. Now, normally, I wouldn't get too concerned reading this sort of headline. I mean, after all, Republicans in Texas have been threatening to leave the Republican Party and the entirety of the United States behind every 2 years for the last 4 decades or so. But this, however, is something different. Because this is literally Republicans disagreeing with Republicans about what it means to be a Republican. And so the very identity of the party going forward is at stake here. More than 100 Republicans, including some former elected officials, are preparing to release a letter this week threatening to form a third party if the Republican Party does not make certain changes, according to an organizer of the effort. The statement is expected to take aim at former President Donald J. Trump's stranglehold on the Republicans, which signatories to the document have deemed unconscionable. Quote, "When in our democratic republic, forces of conspiracy, division, and despotism arise, it is the patriotic duty of citizens to act collectively in defense of liberty and justice," reads the preamble to the full statement, which is expected to be released later today. Now, I know most of the people who generally consume my content are over on the left, be it the political left or the far left. And so the granular inner workings of the Republican ideology in the party might not be their forte. So let me just explain something to you here. When Republicans or conservatives start breaking out words like liberty and justice, you know this shit is for real. This is how the Tea Party became a thing. They took a lot of dialectics and explanations from libertarians, they injected it into the standard Republican narrative, and they essentially attracted all of the Republicans who felt that their party were rhinos, Republicans in name only. And when they started, everybody laughed. The left laughed because they were like, oh, look, it's like Republicans on steroids. And Republicans laughed because they were like, what are you going to do? Get people to not vote Republican and vote for somebody else? And then like 10 years later, they had like 30 people in Congress. They had an entire voting block, and they were able to directly affect legislation. And now that those people of Tea Parties yesterday have become the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Lauren Boeberts of today, well, once again, the threat is very real. This is us saying that a group of more than 100 prominent Republicans think that the situation has gotten so dire with the Republican Party that it is now time to seriously consider whether an alternative might be the only option. The list of people signing the statement includes former officials at both the state and national level who once were governors, members of Congress, ambassadors, cabinet secretaries, state legislators, and Republican Party chairmen. Now again, to people on the left who often talk about how we're getting more progressives into office and how we're going to change the face of the Democratic Party from inside the Democratic Party, You need to understand, these are long-term Republicans who have been in their party, some of them for half a century, and they've literally thrown their hands up in the air and they're like, we can't even reform this. We just need to go form a new party. Now, considering the state of left-on-left political crime, you know, the way we normally debate and discuss with each other about how far left is too left or not left enough. Yeah, well, very rarely do those conversations end with lifetime Democrats going, oh, well, then I guess we should just abandon the party and start our own party. No, because no matter how bad it gets, it hasn't gotten that bad. Yet apparently, in the land of Republicans, only 6 months after Trump's defeat, they're wholesale talking about jumping ship and just starting from scratch because they believe their party is now that polluted. Meanwhile, in the time that it took for that letter to get drafted and that story to get written, well, Republicans all came together, met in chambers, and ousted Liz Cheney from her leadership positions within the Republican Party. Why? Because Liz Cheney didn't support Donald Trump's maniacal cries of a conspiracy being spearheaded by the ghost of Hugo Chavez, who apparently programmed some voting machines after his corpse built a time machine, went back in time, and then he learned how to code and coded all the Dominion machines for Joe Biden. And then I'm assuming he crawled back into his coffin and the time-space continuum went on and nothing else nefarious happened. But yes, this is the state of the Republican Party, where if you say, that seems a little far-fetched, hundreds of Republicans come running down the hill at you and just eject you. But this is the current state of the Republican Party now, where Donald Trump, who is not on social media and is no longer the president of the United States of America, still has so much popularity and has so much power that the current Republicans in Congress are tripping over each other to get back at people who didn't support him in the hopes that Trump will get off his fat ass, leave the golf course, get onto his private jet, and come fly out to their election campaign stops so that they can get the Trump bump, because they are all self-serving and the only thing they are concerned with is maintaining their individual seats. It has nothing to do with them caring about the future of the Republican Party or the politics of the Republican Party. This is a couple hundred individuals who are solely concerned with maintaining their one-handed, tenuous grip upon a lever of power. And they are willing to sell out centuries of the history of their party and their party's politics and their party's ideologies solely to get the social media bump from the unemployed game show host. Shortly after Representative Liz Cheney was removed from her position in House Republican leadership, Representative Elise Stefanik announced a formal effort to replace her as the chamber's third-ranking Republican. In a 2-page letter to House Republicans, Stefanik did not mention Cheney, former President Donald Trump, or his election fraud claims. Cheney's ouster came after she repeatedly slammed the former president's debunked claims that the election was stolen from him. Instead, she railed against the media and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Quote, I know firsthand the discipline and message it takes to fight back against the biased national media and the entire Democrat and far left infrastructure. I know what it takes to flip a district and grow the Republican Party. I look forward to working with you as we share our unified conservative vision, regain the majority, fire Speaker Pelosi once and for all, and fight on behalf of the American people to save our country. Now, Stefanik has only been in office since 2015, so it's not like she's had a whole bunch of time to chill out on the Hill and mature and become an experienced politician. But what she does know is that if she parrots Donald Trump's talking points and calls Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats the radical left, which that shit still makes me laugh every time I hear it, she knows that will undoubtedly get her the position of the third highest ranking member of the current Republican Party just because she's a Trumper. Representative Ken Buck of Colorado said following Wednesday's vote, he expects Stefanik to visit the Freedom Caucus and others to strum up more votes. Again, the Freedom Caucus, that's the America First people. That's the Donald Trump block of the Republican Party. First, she's going to do what Trump did. She's going to shore up her base, and then she's going to move slightly outward from that base and go to other Republicans and go, hey, look, I got the whole Trump bandwagon behind me. Maybe you should do the smart thing here and also support me, or else I will rain down fire and brimstone on you, just like we did on Liz Cheney. House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy has already endorsed Stefanik, but some more conservative members are not sold on her yet. Later today, the conference will hold a candidate forum, but several lawmakers were skeptical that somebody besides Stefanik would emerge successful. And meanwhile, as all of this is going on in the back chambers of the Republican Party and the Freedom Caucus, the more visible members of the Freedom Caucus, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, yeah, they're busy literally chasing AOC down through hallways, screaming at her, demanding her time so that they can yell at her about being a terrorist sympathizer. Yes, this is the new Republican Party. This is what gets you to become a legislator. This is what makes you one of only 500 some odd people in the entirety of the United States of America who can write legislation that affects all of us. You just need to scream the loudest, seem the most offended, and get the most rage clicks on social media. That's it. That's all you have to do. Back in the day, to get political power, you had to buy influence. You had to suck up to industries. You had to go to members of state political groups and, fall on the sword to beg them for an endorsement. Now you just need to scream black people are terrorists at the top of your lungs while aggressively chasing down another seated member of Congress in front of a bunch of press people. That's it. That's all you need to do. Also, quick side shout out here. AOC, masterful job of just completely avoiding Marjorie Taylor Greene to the point where she has to run down the hallway and chase you while screeching semi-racist screeds and calling you a terrorist. That's beautiful. Marjorie Taylor Greene is extremely entitled, and she believes that she is entitled to other people and other people's time. AOC apparently does not give a fuck about what Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks she's entitled to. So, AOC, well played. Now, I'm not sure just how far this is going to go, the entire Trumpification of the Republican Party, a possible Republican Party split. It's all possible. Everything's on the table because we are completely off the edge of the map now. We are in uncharted territory. What I do know is that the 2022 midterms are going to go a long way towards determining if the Trump bump still has enough value that people will clout chase the former president to the point of getting rid of their own party leaders. So yes, while it feels great to cheer confusion to our enemies, just remember, if this whole thing comes to pass and a ridiculous number of Trump supporters end up maintaining or winning new seats in the midterm, you are going to have a much different, much uglier monster to deal with come 2024. So keep your eyes on the prize, people, because this is a continuing situation and it's not just going to fade away. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet and I am out. Peace.